what we're seeing is, with the rise of new technologies, younger people feeling more empowered as individuals and as world citizens, becoming entrepreneurial, hands-on, and wanting to make a small impact and derive a sense of accomplishment from that small impact, for better or worse.
Islam came to rid us of tribalism.
Exactly.
And to rid us of all the nightmare that people used to go through in
which
that
we
time.
As Muslims are replicating today.
And we see it yet happening throughout the Muslim world, in the Middle East and in so many parts of Pakistan.
Yes.
Why? I asked you the question first.
But I have to tell you that I've just given you my answer, that there are all kinds of people in any tribe that feels under siege who will never be satisfied with anything other than the status quo, because it's all about power for them. That's it. They gain their identity from a very narrow and rigid notion of faith. And in fact, it's a notion of faith that is not faith at all. It is dogma. And let me explain the difference between the two. Faith is secure enough to handle questions. Faith never needs to be threatened by questions. Dogma, on the other hand, is always threatened by questions, because dogma, by definition, is brittle. Okay? It snaps under the spotlight of questions. It is based on very shaky foundations.
So Muslims are victims of dogma in the 21st century?
It's not victims of dogma. Muslims are often the perpetrators of dogma. The key here is the how. How do you try to undermine dogma? I'm not doing it by leaving Islam, declaring myself an atheist, which I am not in any event, and saying, Islam is unreformable, Islam is backward, but I want to encourage Muslims to reform. There are some dissidents in the world of Islam who have done that. And I'm a pluralist. I defend their right to take whatever peaceful approach they want, but that's not effective. A much more effective approach, as long as it's sincere, which in my case it is in fact to remain within the faith and to emphasize those traditions within the faith that lend themselves to reinterpretation. And I'm finding, sir, that by doing so, younger Muslims are feeling a lot more comfortable and a lot more self-assured that they can be at one and the same time faithful and thoughtful. Said, you guys are making the classic mistake, if I may be so bold, of reducing our politicians to mere caricatures, to mascots, to cardboard cutouts. Here's a guy who is legitimately saying, look, I'm struggling with this issue. If we want our politicians to be authentic, why do we punish them when they express their ambivalences?
He wasn't struggling. What that was a way for him to say, I'm feeling your pain, I understand, but I'm still going to vote against it.
It was a wicked nod to the gay community. That's what he's basically saying. Give me 6 months, I'll catch up with my wife. He was dishonest in what he was doing.
Why are you saying, wait a minute, why is being on a journey of sorts, albeit publicly,
a journey
opportunistic?
On marriage?
Why? Every major religion has a great reason tradition. And it's about time, Roland, that somebody's president tapped into that tradition.
Bill, that was
Roland, are we all that materialistic? The reality is we are. America has 6% of the world's population and consumes more than 30% of the world's resources. Now, if that is not a recipe for materialism, I don't know what is. But then you asked another fascinating question. Are we, so materialistic that we outdo the rest of the world? I'm not so sure about that. The rest of the world is not free of this sin either. I have a friend who spent the entire summer in Kuwait, that little Middle Eastern country that was once invaded by Saddam Hussein. She wrote to me about all of the poolside parties featuring backless dresses and sparkling diamonds. You go to another part of the Middle East, Dubai, you drown in Gucci bags and slot machines.
Rolls Royces and all kinds of things.
The difference is, Roland, the difference is that those parts of the world are far more secretive about their materialism and consumerism than America is. You know what that's called? Hypocrisy, my friend. And I just wish that hypocrisy were considered as much a sin as lust and greed.
Well,